You are listening to a Pleasure podcast. For more from our Sex Podcast Collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Welcome back to Private Parts Unknown, a podcast about love and sexuality around the world. I'm Courtney Kocak, and today, Privates, we are bringing our pet loss series to a close. Why are we talking about pet loss grief on a sex podcast in the first place? Well, I understand the topic isn't necessarily sexy, but it does have to do with one of the most important relationships people have in their lives, our relationships with our pets. Scientifically, it can be as hard to grieve a pet as a partner or a parent. And I can vouch for this because I lost my beloved Georgia in early December, and it has been so hard for me to process. And going through that experience inspired this series. I wanted to make something for other people who are going through this to hopefully help them get to the other side, as I have gotten to. And before we dive into part 3 with Joey Tuccio, I want to share a quick update. So, we have adopted a new dog. Her name is Almond Joy. We call her Joy Joy. And she is from a litter where the mom's name is Candy. So all the puppies have like her sister's Godiva. They all have Candy names. And we didn't want to change her name, so we call her Joy Joy. And so this is how it happened. I was in Texas with my partner. We were there for like several weeks. It was an extended business trip, and I saw Almond Joy on Instagram from a rescue in San Diego called It's the Pits. I had started following a bunch of rescues after Georgia passed, just like to get comfortable with the idea of getting another dog and to see what was out there. As Sherry Doyen would say, calling in my next guide. So I come across Joy Joy's picture with her just adorable little head tilt, just like Georgia would do. And she looks just like Georgia. Joy Joy is an American Staffordshire and Georgia was a Boxer Pit, but they look like twins. And I was actually kind of hoping that Joy Joy would be deaf like Georgia was, and she's not. And that's totally fine. I'm embracing that as a new experience. But just for the record, I do think deaf dogs have a special kind of magic about them, and they're super empathetic, and I hope to have one in my life again. But as soon as I saw Joy Joy, I knew she was my dog. I applied that same night. And after going through a phone interview, I came back from Texas early to do a home check and to finalize the adoption. We didn't want anyone else to get her because we were already in love. So I wound up getting Joy Joy 6 weeks exactly after Georgia passed. I had been grieving pretty hardcore for those 6 weeks, but I sort of felt like I was coming out of it. I had talked to Sherry, I had talked to Beth, I had talked to Joey at that point. Having these conversations for the podcast really helped me. So I picked Joy Joy up, and there was definitely an adjustment period, but she is now totally integrated into our household, and she is doing so well. She's 9 months old, and she is just potty trained as of last week. She's definitely still a puppy. And here's the thing. Of course, I think about Georgia all the time. Like, it didn't make the Georgia grief go away in any way, but it is nice to have some puppy energy in the house and to just like have that kind of like visceral, tactile kind of relationship again is really nice. And that's just to say, like, there's no right time for you to get your next dog. This is just what felt right for us. So now we are going to wrap up our pet loss series. We are going to hear from Joey Tuccio. He is the president and CEO of Roadmap Writers. Roadmap does great work. If you are a screenwriter, definitely look them up. And Joey himself does some incredible work on the side with dogs on Skid Row, saving these dogs. It's just tremendous. I see the most amazing stuff on his social media. And Joey is just so honest and hilarious as a person. So this is such a great interview. And it's the perfect way to end this series because, yes, in this convo, we talk about pet loss grief, but we also talk about some simple ways to get involved and make dogs' lives better, even if you can't take a pup into your home at the moment. So here we go.
Hey, my name is Joey Tuccio, and I am an animal rescue person who works with Animal Rescue Mission and starts with one today.
Well, Joey, I know you as such this dog lover. So when I started thinking about doing this series, I was like, oh, I got to talk to you. And then I saw you had posted, I don't know if it was like December or something, that you had lost your baby.
Yeah. So, I have an animal rescue group. I've been doing rescue for about 10 years. We rescue dogs from kill shelters, from Tijuana, from just the streets of LA. There's some dogs survive, some dogs don't. The dog that I lost in December was a dog that I saw at the shelter the year before. His name was Maverick, blind, pneumonia, arthritis, like could barely walk, so sick, ticks all over him. So I was like, I need to get him out. And I had him for a year. We got him cataract surgery. He could see. Unfortunately, the whole time I had him, he never got out of his depression. He was always just sad, even after he could see. But he died. I had kidney failure in December, because I knew it was always kind of an issue with him with his kidneys. But yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad.
So have you always had pets? How did you become such a pet lover?
Oh my God, it's kind of ruined my life. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I love dogs, but it has destroyed my life because all I think about are dogs. And I get texts every day. Multiple texts a day. You have to get this dog. This dog is dying. This dog's on the street. This pregnant husky is being thrown out of her house. This is happening. That's happening. So it's just a never ending cycle of hell. And it's just, there's a lot of people I talk to. It's like, I can't even look at your post. I can't even see this. I'd rather just not know. And sometimes I wish I could just not know, but I'd rather know and do something about it than know that it's happening, but be ignorant to it and just be like, well, I'm not going to think about it, even though I know what's happening. So I'm just kind of obsessed with it. It's a never ending process. So it's never ending.
Did you grow up with them? Did you grow up with dogs?
Yeah, I had dogs growing up. I don't think I've always loved dogs, but I didn't really have such an affinity to dogs until about 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I went to a shelter in LA just to drop off some blankets, and I didn't really know what a shelter was. So I dropped off blankets and I said, can I just go in the back and see the dogs? That was the moment that ruined my life. So I went back there and I saw these dogs and it was just awful. And I was like, wait, these dogs could be killed at any moment. Yeah. So at that moment, I adopted a dog immediately. Then I adopted another one. And then I joined a rescue group. And then I joined another rescue group. And now I do a lot with dogs on Skid Row, with trying to save dogs that are chained up. They're being abused, used for fighting, used for breeding. But it wasn't until I actually saw the dogs in peril that I was like, oh, wait, something has to be done about this. Yeah. And then I became obsessed.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, you put in an application, right?
Yes.
For another dog.
Yes.
Are you getting?
We'll see. She said she's going to call me in the next, either today or tomorrow. But okay, so I love my dog Georgia so much. She was the best. I had her for 13 years. She passed when she was 14. I love her so much. So it's a little fucked up, but I'm trying to find an exactly the same dog.
What kind of dog?
She was a boxer pit. She might have had some American Staffordshire in her too, but she was mostly white. And so, it's recessive genes. So she was deaf. And it honestly made her better, I think. She was such a love bug and she was just the best. So in my own weird way, I'm trying to recreate that with whatever dog I get next. So I saw this dog on the internet in San Diego and I was like, I have to have this dog. So
I'm obsessed. And also, I hope it works out, but if it doesn't, we have Pia right around the corner, this other white pit bull, so sweet. It's really interesting because I deal with so many people that want to foster or adopt, and sometimes they've lost a dog, and sometimes it take them years to get another dog. Sometimes they're like, I need another dog tomorrow. I can't live with the void.
Yeah.
So it just everybody heals differently.
Yeah, for me it's been a month. And at the very beginning, I was like, ugh, I can't even think about it. But then, you know how it is. I follow all these accounts and I see all these dogs. And yeah, some of them are getting, what is it called? Red tagged or whatever.
Red listed, yeah.
Or yeah, red listed. And plus like the physicality with the dog, like I don't even do that with my partner. Like I don't cuddle my partner in the same way. I'm like, I need that.
Wait, so how did your dog pass, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no. So we thought she was so healthy and she had this kind of cancer that they call the silent killer. And so I was actually out of town for my uncle's funeral. And my fiance called, it was like the middle of the night. I had to rush home and then I got to say goodbye to her, but it was like 12 hours. She was gone so fast.
No lead up, no symptoms, just happened.
No, I mean, in retrospect, it's like, oh, she was peeing a little bit more. And like, there were like a couple tiny things, but she was so healthy. She was eating. There was nothing weird.
See, I don't know. How morbid can we be?
Let's go there.
Let's go there. Okay. I've had multiple dogs. I have 2 dogs in the past couple of years that passed. Both were older dogs, but it was like very like, we knew it was coming.
Okay.
Like the one was very sick. The one we just lost recently, I knew it was coming. I was dreading the day. My other dog I have now, Gilly, she's 10 or 11, but very healthy, like very energetic. Uh-huh. And I don't know if I could deal with the suddenness of it.
It's insane.
That's tough.
It's insane. If I wouldn't have got to say goodbye, I was literally, I got on the first flight. I accidentally bought this ticket for like the week later. I was like, no, get me on the flight. So, yeah. But I had this layover and the vet was trying to get us to put her down while I was on the plane.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah. I was like, no, that's like, I'm sorry if you're busy and you need this space, but like, you're going to have to wait. So I made it just in time to say goodbye, but I don't know how I would have been able to function if I wouldn't have gotten to say goodbye.
I don't know how I'm going to function when Gilly I mean, I'm not even like trying to like put it out there in the world because she's my soulmate. We go for an hour walk in the morning, an hour walk at night. We cuddle. Like I've had her since she was a puppy. But then, I always, since I deal with so many dogs and people with dogs, my go-to is like, well, you gave them the best life. And without you, God knows what kind of life they would have had. But then when somebody tells me that, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it's different. Like, like nobody understands what I go through. But yeah, how did you deal with it?
I'm like usually on top of my shit. I'm like, I always have a project going. I'm like very perfectionist, but I had to just for like a couple weeks just be like, okay, I don't have to hold myself to any standard. I'm just going to like cry every day and like, just like let myself grieve. And I still like, I cry every day about it. And, it's still like a whole thing, but I'm trying to create these rituals for her. We have like a little altar and, it helps to just kind of keep her alive. It's like, I can't pretend it didn't happen. I can't pretend like she wasn't the best. Even when I get this other dog, I'm probably just gonna, think about Georgia for a while.
Are you going to name the dog Georgia?
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah. It's really, when I lost Piper, the dog I had for a long time, a couple of years ago, she used to love being in my living room, and I couldn't go in my living room for like a month.
Oh.
I couldn't even like go in because it just reminded me of her so much. And then after they pass, you go through this like devastation and everything. And then like you go through the motion of the days and you don't forget, but you kind of just like focus on other things. And then the vet calls and you have to pick up the ashes and you're like, oh, and then the water works again. And then you kind of heal from that. And then you see something on TV and then it happens again. It's just like this constant reminder. But I do think immersing yourself in helping other dogs, knowing that there's other dogs out there and letting the honor of your dog survive through helping other dogs. I think that's such a great way to direct the despair.
How often do you think about, is it Piper, the one that passed?
Piper, yeah. I think so. Piper, I lost 2 years ago. Maverick was the one that was blind that I lost a few months ago. I mean, I think about them all the time. It's kind of like, I have like Maverick's ashes in one room. I have his paw print in another room. I have Piper's ashes in another room. So every room kind of has its shrine to the dog. But you know what's weird? I get sad, but I also feel like I get more sad when like a couple of days go by and I haven't thought about them, and then then I think about them like, oh, I'm such a horrible person. Like I didn't think about them for 2 days, or like whatever. Like how easy you can forget. Am I a bad person? Like it's just like how you handle it is. It could kind of show up in different ways.
No, I had that with my grandma too, when she passed, and it's like when you get further away from it and you can like kind of forget about it, which is like a blessing in a way, but it also, you have that feeling where you're like, fuck.
And then you like laugh for the first time after not laughing, and then you feel like horrible for laughing because you're like, my dog just died. Do you, and I'm not sure myself, but do you believe in the afterlife?
I'm not like a religious person, but like I want that, like I want to see Georgia again. So like, I hope, I don't know. What about you?
I don't know. People say, well, you're going to see them again, and I'm like, maybe, but then I think about, am I doing enough with my current dog? Should I quit my job and just get an RV and just travel the world with my dog, or the US, and just have the best life with my dog and F everything else? It's so much guilt. There's so much guilt, especially for dogs because they're so dependent on you. We're like a human, their own thing for the most part, but like, you just feel like, am I giving them the best life? And I feel like I'm not. And
how did you work through the guilt?
How did I work through the guilt?
Did you?
Honestly, I think what saved me was I'm so immersed in helping dogs that like I'm surrounded by dogs all the time. So I see the horrors that dogs go through. And it does remind me that even though it's hard for me to digest, like, I and you and other people who take in dogs, we did give them the best life that they could have. Even if like, there was that one time I couldn't take them for a walk in the morning because I had to do a meeting, or like whatever. There was one time I like, whatever. So, but even though with those hiccups along the way, like the lives that they had are just exponentially better than most dogs out there. So that kind of reminds me of it. And it does, this is where like my like darkness comes in. My thought really comes down to, I want to find the person that brought my dogs into the shelter the first time. I want to find the person who thought it would be a good idea to bring in a blind pneumonia dog, drop them off at a kill shelter and be like, peace and see you later. Like my dream is to hack into like the animal services mainframe and find, okay, who turned in Piper, who turned in Maverick, and now it's time for me to murder them.
You're like the Dexter.
Yeah. Yeah. It does cross my mind. I'm not going to lie. It does cross my mind because it's like, I know people turn in dogs for, I hate to say it, for valid reasons, because I think it's far and few between what's a valid reason. But if like you're evicted and you have no place else to go, and it's and like you can't take care of your dog, and you try to do a GoFundMe and you try to call rescues, then okay. But most of the time it's just like the dog got older, they're not pretty anymore, they're moving and they can't bring the dog into their new apartment, and they barely look to see if they can find another place for the dog. It's just laziness and like ignorance, and it gets me so mad.
Yeah. Hey, privates, we've all had embarrassing BO moments, have we not? Have you ever been stinky in front of your crush? Oh my God, that is the worst. Fortunately, Lumi whole body deodorant is making it so that none of us ever have to worry about BO again. Unlike certain other deodorants, Lumi is powered by mandelic acid to control odor in a new way. Lumi delivers outrageous 72-hour body control everywhere from your pits to your feet, and yes, even your privates. In fact, it was patients' concern about private part odor that originally inspired the OBGYN who invented Lumi. Fast forward 6 years later, and her game-changing whole body deodorant has now earned over 300,000 five-star reviews from people like me who love feeling confident from head to toe. I personally love Lumi. I use it every day. I use the solid stick toasted coconut scent for underneath my arms, and I use the clean tangerine body wash, and their wipes are amazing. If you need to clean up anywhere, they've got wipes for you, baby. And the best part is that Lumi is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. So, unlike certain traditional deodorants that try to mask odor with a fragrance, Lumi is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. So, it's really more like a pre-odorant than a deodorant. It's also baking soda free and paraben free, and pH balanced for safe use below the belt, which is very important. And they have a selection of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. I love all of those scents. And Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with that solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and the deodorant wipes. Like I said, those wipes are amazing if you are traveling, if you are camping. It's just amazing to freshen up on the go. And you get free shipping with this Lumi starter pack. And as a special offer for Private Parts Unknown listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with the Private Parts Unknown code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. So use code PPU for 15% off your first purchase at lumideodorant.com. That's code PPU at LUMEDEODORANT.com. Code PPU at lumideodorant.com. Privates with Lumi deodorant, you're not going to be smelling PU anymore. Okay, so tell everyone you do the best work, and you recently, I think you still have this dog, or you'd recently been working with this dog that its poor skin was so hurt and scabby, but it was so cute, this dog, still, even with its like skin condition. So you do like the Lord's work with these dogs. Tell people about this rescue work and the Skid Row stuff.
Yeah. So this particular, again, I get calls, me and my partners get calls every second about this dog, that dog. So there was a pair of dogs, very sweet, maybe like 5 months old, pit bull kind of dogs, babies, brother and sister, and the brother head to toe mange. Like when I'm saying mange, I mean like literally crevices in the face and the body because the mange was just taking over, and like just deep scabs and blood and just complete pain. So I got the dog went to the vet, got the medicine. I had the dog for a couple of weeks. The dog's now at another foster with the sister. They reunited. There's another rescue involved. But this dog was in so much pain.
Yeah.
And then you see like the mange starting to get better and getting better. And then like the dog starts coming out of their shell and you see the tail wagging. And so that's just like one of the dogs out of the million that I deal with on a regular basis. But we'll get calls like there's a dog being chained up and they're abandoned, or they're not abandoned and the people are abusive, or this dog's at a kill shelter and they be red listed and put down, soon. So it is a never ending process. But this dog is so sweet. And it's so cute seeing him play with her brother again, because they were separated for a couple of weeks while she healed. And then we also just got this other dog that also had mange, tied up downtown, just to a pole, abandoned, head to toe mange again. And we started a petition a few months ago to get the mayor, Karen Bass, to get off her butt and do something about it. And it got over 20,000 signatures. We did a protest, like people like Katherine Heigl promoted it. And of course, Karen didn't do a single thing. We've been talking to animal control and animal services. They barely do anything, especially on Skid Row, which is a disaster. You go to Skid Row and you see like, obviously you feel bad for the people. And a lot of times the people are the ones who tell us about the abuse cases within Skid Row. But there is like a percentage of people on Skid Row that are just horrible.
Yeah.
And they breed the dogs. They fight the dogs. They use dogs for bartering for drugs, or they give the dog drugs. And it's just like,
oh my God.
It's sad. It does make me think of humans a little differently after doing this for so long.
So I know that's the thing. It's like some unhoused people take such good care of their dogs, and you can tell it's like very important to them. And then I see some of the stuff on your page and I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's insane.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard because people are so, you also have to be sensitive because like there are times I want to be like, post the person that's abusing their dogs, but I know that like there is a sensitivity to the on-house community, which I get. So I know they suffer, but I don't think because one person is suffering gives them an okay
Yeah.
to abuse a dog and be like, well, they're suffering. So like it makes sense that they're not happy. It's like, well, then they get a teddy bear and like they should like, or a voodoo doll, but don't take it out on your dog. But there is, again, there's within Skid Row specifically, we do have allies of within Skid Row from the on-house community that can't stand it anymore. And they're like, animal control is not doing anything. The mayor's not doing anything. So they turn to us and be like, my neighbor is abusing their dog. I can't deal with this anymore. Like, can you please help? And there's been times where they've taken the dog and kept the dog until we found a home. So when we post or people post about like this on-house person is harming their dog, there is a certain knee-jerk reaction, like you're being mean to the whole community. It's like, no, I'm just talking about this one human being that's doing it. It's not a generalization, but I do think when drugs get involved, it's game over. And that whatever, I don't care the circumstances. If this person's on drugs, the dog has to be removed.
So what do you think, like seeing everything you've seen, what should animal control be doing differently? Like, what should Karen Bass be trying to implement to make sure that it's not like a zoo down there, like a bad zoo?
Yeah, literally a zoo. Pausing breeder licenses. You could still go to the shelter and get a breeder's license. Anybody could. Spay and neuter, like forcing people to spay and neuter their dogs. Like, not like, if you want, you can. No, you have to. Just to like curb the population because there were an immense animal crisis right now. Also, especially on like Skid Row, enforcing laws that a dog can't be caged up for hours and hours and hours or days upon end in a cage, sometimes in the direct sunlight, especially in the summer when it's like really brutal. We had a meeting with Stacey Daines, who's more or less the head of animal services, and she's never been to Skid Row before until we told her about it. She went and she didn't even know what to do. And she told her peers and they're like, oh, we don't go to Skid Row. It's too dangerous because there's no laws. You go to Skid Row and there is no enforcement. So we as like civilians have to go and like put our lives at risk and like try to help these dogs where we have no support from animal services or the police. So I think they need to just crack down and go there. And like, if they see something which they could see if they just drove down a single street and enforce the laws and remove dogs that are being abused and stop this breeding and breeding and breeding. And they know, we see like this dog, we have like, there's been times where like, I have video proof of this person breeding their dogs and admitting it and selling their dogs. And you tell animal services, but they don't do anything. So the cycle just exists. And until Karen does something about it or animal services does something about it, it's just never going to end.
The breeding, even outside of Skid Row, since I've been following all these rescue accounts, the amount of breeding just by anyone, it's like shocking how much this is happening.
You get like what, maybe $300 for a puppy. And then what also happens too, which I've been hearing about, is that somebody will buy a puppy for $300 from somebody. That person knows where this person lives. So they'll buy the dog, take the dog back to their house. The person who sold them the dog will go and get the dog back and just steal that dog and sell them again and sell them again. And there's been many times where I've rescued a dog from Skid Row where that dog is shipped to somebody else. So they clearly have gone to other places, stolen a dog, and just brought down to Skid Row to breed, to use for fighting. But we have no support from the government to help. None. No support. And we've done a Fox segment, we've done an ABC segment, we've done obviously the petition, we've done protests, but people just don't, the government just doesn't care. They're just turning a blind eye.
So this is one of the things that I'm going to get a dog, but then I also want to do some like fostering and just get more involved myself because I am.
You better be careful saying that because when you say that to me, I'm going to call you every day.
I know. Don't ruin my life. Please don't ruin my life.
What about this? What about this dog?
So, but how can people like help support and what are the good rescues that you know of that they can donate money and stuff like that?
So I'm a part of Animal Rescue Mission, which has been around for almost 8 years at this point, maybe a little longer. Me and a couple of people started an initiative called Pause on Skid Row. That's part of another rescue called Starts with One Today. And we deal specifically with dogs in downtown and Skid Row that are on the streets, that are being abused. So Starts with One Today, Animal Rescue Mission. Love Leo Rescue is great. Stand Up for Pits is another rescue that's fantastic. But there's also a lot of rescues that you could, when you look at their Instagram, it's like they're all like little baby foo-foo dogs, and they're so sweet. And of course, everybody wants them because they're gorgeous and they're, the perfect kind of puppy-looking dogs. And they're making so much money because people will pay anything for these little puppy dogs. Then they see like, a 70-pound pit bull, and they're like, well, I'd rather have the little baby because they're cute and easier. So I have no respect for those kind of rescues, but I do have respect for the ones that are like, no, this dog is just as nice and just as good, maybe some PTSD, but they need a home too, and nobody's even paying attention to them. So those are some rescues that I really like a lot. There's also WUFAW, WUFAW. That's fantastic. Those are the ones that I really like.
Yeah, the senior dog thing seems to be like a big... I mean, even when I go to I went to a couple shelters just to like get a fix after Georgia passed. I was like, I just need to see some dogs. Yeah. But there's so many older dogs, like so many.
How many older dogs? We're getting a dog out tomorrow that's 13 years old, blind. It's a little dog. There's so many, because I think that really comes down to people, they get a puppy because it's so cute. Then the puppy gets older, and then it's like they're not cute anymore, or they're not cute in their mind anymore.
Yeah.
And then they just get rid of the dog, or there's a senior dog and they can't handle the dog anymore. And I understand people are made of money, and like obviously with a senior dog comes with more vetting, but like start a GoFundMe, start a fundraiser. There's ways to like help your dog, or reach out to rescues for help. There's so many times we get calls from people that they don't want to give up their dog, but they just need help. So we'll help them either financially or with some food for the dog or some like vetting, whatever. But I am a firm believer that sometimes people don't deserve a dog, and the dog should not be with them, even if they get the help.
Yeah.
And that's not just unhoused people. That's like literally across the board, from people in Beverly Hills to people on Skid Row.
Yeah, totally. Well, you are a saint.
You're a saint. I hope you get your dog, but there's also Pia too, in case anybody wants.
Pia's super cute.
Yeah. It's so cute. She's at a very temporary foster right now, but she's doing so well. She just sleeps a lot. But I know we're doing this because of the grief of dog loss. And for anybody out there who has lost their dog, or is scared of losing their dog, or is maybe more imminent than not, it's devastating. You're going to feel like fucking hell, and there's nobody can say anything to make you feel better. You kind of just have to experience it and go through the hell, and just know that even if there were some hiccups along the way, like you gave that dog, and I know I'm saying this, when people say to me, I don't like it because I'm like, no, but you gave the dog the best life, and you should maybe immerse yourself in volunteering at other shelters or rescue groups just to see maybe what other dogs go through, to put things in perspective. But it takes a certain angel to take in a dog and give that dog a really good life, knowing that like your life probably would be a little easier if you didn't have a dog.
Yeah, that's a good message. So how can people follow you and see all this stuff and maybe foster one of these babies?
Oh my God, a dream. Yes. Let's see. At Joey Tuccio is my Instagram. That's probably the best way to look at the dogs. Follow at Starts with One Today. Follow the Animal Rescue Mission. And just, you know what? Just go to the local shelters, whether you're in LA or anywhere. There's so many times people will be like, I'm in Virginia and I want to help, but I'm all the way in Virginia. I'm like, well, then go to the Virginia Animal Shelter or call your local rescue, because I guarantee there's dogs there that need help. And the last thing I'll say is, for anybody out there that is considering to buy a dog from a breeder, unless it's like a very specific case, like a seeing eye dog or something like that, obviously, then you probably won't find that at the shelter. But there's a lot of people I talk to, not a lot, but there's people that I talk to that say, well, I'm going to get a dog from a breeder because I want a baby puppy and I don't want a dog with PTSD. And I just got a notice yesterday that at the San Bernardino shelter, there are probably 30 newborn puppies there. that need a home. So you will find those puppies. Just go to the shelter. You'll find them.
And
or call a rescue.
Even if you can't like take a dog into your home at the moment, you can go to the shelter and just like hang out with the dogs for a while. Like they don't get that much human interaction, and I'm sure they would love it.
They don't. And take a picture and post it on your social. You never know who's going to see it. What I would suggest is when you go to a shelter, like find a couple of dogs, or maybe even just one to start, that you're like really into. And if you can't take the dog, like get the animal ID number, take videos and post about it and keep posting about it, because you never know when somebody's gonna be like, actually, I'm so glad you posted this. I got this from a friend of a friend of a friend, your post. And now I want to get the dog. You never know who's looking at these posts. So just network.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joey.
My God, of course.
Thank you, Joey, and also Beth Bigler and Sherry Doyen. This pet loss series has been so cathartic for me. I really, really needed it. And these guys helped put me back together. So I'm so grateful. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. And thank you for tuning into this episode of Private Parts Unknown. Stay tuned right here because I have got another sexy episode, legitimately sexy this time, I promise, coming your way next week. For the latest episodes, look down and make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast player now. To stay in touch between episodes, you can follow me at Courtney Kocak. That is Kocak on Instagram and Twitter. And follow the show at Private Parts Unknown on Instagram and at Private Parts Un on Twitter. And hey, privates, I am shamelessly trying to hit the top 1% on OnlyFans always and forever. So if you are interested in a Playboy-style peek behind the podcast, you can subscribe to my OnlyFans account. It is onlyfans.com/CocoPeepShow. It is a horny way for you to help support the show. So if you are interested, join me on onlyfans.com/CocoPeepShow. And of course, subscribe to our newsletter. It is privatepartsunknown.substack.com. There is a link for that in the episode description. And subscribe to the Private Parts Unknown YouTube channel for the video version of a bunch of episodes. It is youtube.com/privatepartsunknown. That's youtube.com/privatepartsunknown. And hey, why don't you subscribe while you are there? Because it really helps us out in the algorithm. And check out my other podcasts for more of my audio creations. I have The Bleeders about book writing and publishing, and Podcast Bestie, which is a best friend to podcasters trying to grow and monetize their shows. Shout out to Amy Rausch for the bomb-ass theme music. For more about Amy and her music, check out amyrausch.com. That is Amy, RAASCH.com. This episode was mixed by my beloved audio guy, Michael Castaneda of Plastic Audio. And after enjoying this content, could we ask you for a quick favor? Just go to ratethispodcast.com/private and give us a 5-star rating and review. And could you please help us hit our rating and review goals? We are up to 285 ratings on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for helping us hit that goal. Now let's get to 290. And I would love a new review. We haven't had a new review in a couple weeks. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, just give us a 5-star rating and your sweet nothings about the show. And if you are listening on Spotify, we currently have 142 ratings, and we are trying to get to 145. Please help us hit that goal. You just go to the 3 dots on the right-hand side of the screen on our page, and then you hit rate show. And that is easy peasy, and it makes my freaking day. And you can do this from anywhere, no matter where you are listening, by just going to ratethispodcast.com/private and giving us a 5-star rating and a review. And hey, there is a new way you can support the show. We are now on the Fountain app. So if you are listening on Fountain or another V4V platform and you get value from this show, you can support us by sending a boostagram or sending some sats for streaming. And you can even send a comment along with your boost. And I have to say, those are my favorite messages to get because they come with money. And Wanying22 boosted 111 sats for part 1 of our pet loss series. So shout out. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Love you, privates.